Okay, so what I'm going to put together here is I'm going to walk through some of the things we called out in the study guide for exam one. So I want to kind of, we've got it on paper here, but what I'd like to do is go back and do a quick demonstration of it within Excel so you get a sense of, there's one of the things to remember about Excel, a couple different ways to do things. I'm going to show you maybe one, maybe two. There may be some other ones out there, but, the one, but so let's go through. So the first thing a couple things we want to do. Chapter one was all about chapter one and two actually, all around the fundamentals of Excel, the fundamental, um, approaches, methods we use within Excel to work with data. This idea of having every cell will can have a value in it, and then we can apply formatting to that cell to change the layout of it, the presentation of it. Okay, so first things we got is say our first three things we'll talk about. We talked about in chapter one is number one is creating a new worksheet and a workbook, and then changing the name and the color tab of the worksheet, and then inserting new tabs into the worksheet. Okay, so we take a worksheet here, like this one. All right, so the three things I'm going to do here. So I'm going to insert a new I'm going to insert a new one. Okay, so the new one I'm inserting, all you do is you enter the plus sign here, and that will create a new worksheet. All right, so I've added a couple here. All right. To change the color and the format, this is something we'll be using. We use quite a bit is the right click or the context menu. All right, so if we point at something, we click on it, and then we right click that, we'll get this pop up menu in which we can do all sorts of neat stuff. So a lot of the stuff we end up doing will be through this. So what I've done is I'm going to do two things. I'm going to rename the worksheet, and I'll call it okay, worksheet demo. All right. And so I've renamed it, and then if I right click again, I have a entry here for tab color. So I can change the tab color to anything within the palette. If I do color, it'll come up to pop up, and let's do something that'll stand out, I hope. Okay. Right, so I changed the color, and I've changed that. So that's a quick walkthrough on that. We want to insert new columns into the worksheet and then copy using autofill. So let's do a quick inserting. Inserting is if we're going to insert a column, what we want to do is we'll select a column. All right, and then what will happen is when we say insert, it'll insert it to the left. All right, so and to prove that we're going to insert a column, I'll put something in between. I'm going to insert something between G and H, and I'm going to put something in there so we can see that there's, if we add a new one. So if I do a right click on this one, if I do an insert on this, boom, what it did is inserted a new column, and it renamed, it took the contents of row H and moved it to row I. All right, and inserted a whole new column here. And I can do that. So it will keep, think about inserting columns, it keeps the naming of the columns the same. So it'd still be, if I insert a column between G and H, it will simply move everything it'll insert to the left and move the other columns to the right. All right. If I look at our next, so we talked about, and actually I have another video on this about autofill. So let's walk through autofill. So autofill is a feature. It's built into Excel that has all sorts of smartness or intelligence built into it. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a cell, put some stuff in it. All right. Now, if you look, So I put that value into the cell. Come back to the cell. Um, Take a look. We have this corner here. If I pull this corner down and let go, it'll do a copy of everything in that cell to all of the other entries here. All right. If I want to change it, though, so what that did a copy of the value that was in cell C6 and copy it all the way down. If I want to change that, say if I want to create what we call a series, Excel is smart enough so it'll detect that if I wanted to do a series, it will see what's in that field and you know apply a series to it. So what this will do is I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Since I have a column of numbers here, what it would do is it would increment the last number. So basically it did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way down the line. And I did that through this the fill series here. So by default, I think you can get copy cells, then you get a fill, and you can also get a fill series. All right. If we do, the other thing that's interesting is if I just put letters in here, and I'm going to fill this down with letters, and I look at what the options are, there's no series for letters. All right, so I can do the copy, I can do fill formatting, things like that, but I can't do, it won't let me, it will not automatically assume that if it doesn't see a pad or something it can create a series off of. It will just simply copy. All right, now, things I can do, days of the week. All right, I did that as a series because I knew it recognized Monday as a series. You can take Mon. So if it recognizes it as a series, it will automatically create a series. If it doesn't recognize it as a series, it'll just simply do a straight copy. All right? A quick demonstration of that. Merging and centering of cells. All right, so merging and centering of cells. A couple of ways to do this. The one way I like to do it, or one way it works for me, is you take a range of cells. Could go horizontal, could go vertical. All right. I do my context click, and I can do format cells. All right, and then for alignment, you'll see this under. So the format cells pop-up menu has all sorts of functionality, all sorts of capabilities in it. So we're going to merge these cells. So you have wrap text, shrink to fit, merge cells. I'm going to merge the cells. All right. So now what I've created is one cell. If I go to this, it shows it as K6 because this upper, just the upper left side is what the cell will be known as, and all the other ones vanish. All right. So they drop out, or they're not. They don't show as having an address anymore. All right. Now, if I want to center it, I'll put something in here. Okay, say I want to center that. All right, I can come back in here again, another right click. If I do format cells from this, I can adjust the alignment. So I can do center. I can do center. So now it's in the center. I can do the exact same thing using off of the ribbon, this piece right here. So I can do a top, bottom, left, right, middle, middle. So you can do it a couple, as I said, with this stuff with Excel. There's a bunch of different ways we can do this. All right. And all you really need to know is one. Pick the one that works for you, the one that works best. All right, so let's go to our next thing we talk about. Applying text wrapping. All right, so text wrapping to a cell. All right, when we talked about cells, they have they have default width. All right, so and what you do is if you type data in a cell, it will display longer than its size. But what will happen is if I put something in the cell next to it, the value will get truncated. All right, so the value is still there. If I look up here, the value of the cell is still there, but I can't see it. So if I want to wrap it, another right-click, format cell. Under alignment, I can do a wrap text. And what that did a wrap. There's other ways to do that as well. That's the way I usually will do it. I'll just format the cells. I'll select a range of cells, format them using that. But there's some other techniques. I think we talk about using a Control A and some other ones as well. But you get the same result with everything. Adding a note to a cell. So notes are annotations we can add that just basically that kind of provides some additional information. So I'm going to once again create the context menu, a new note, type some text in it. All right, and if I come off the cell, if I highlight the cell, it'll pop up the note. All right, and you see if a cell has a note on it, it'll have this itty bitty little red check mark in the corner. All right, if I want to change it or delete it, I can either edit the note or I can delete it, or I can hide it. So I have a bunch of different options here. All right, so let's look. Headers and footers to a worksheet. Once again, a couple different ways to do this. One way we can do it. Let's go to our spreadsheet. If we look at the option down here, if we look down here on the page layout, if I click the page layout, it changes the layout, basically the display. And I can come up here and I can say, change the font, bold it, italicize it. And then down below, I can say, what the header and footer do is when you enter that on the, if you enter that onto a worksheet, when you print it out, it will always show the header and it will always show the footer. So you have to enter it once, and it'll put it on every other page that's on that worksheet. Okay. All right. Other way I think you can get to it, I think we can also get to it through the page layout. There's a couple different ways to get to it. Margins. I think, is it under margins? No, it's not under margins. It's not under orientation. Print titles. Is it print titles? Nope, that's on print title. All right. Here we go. Header footer. Page setup is what it's on. Okay. So I get to the page setup here. I can do header. I can do footers. I can also change the margins. I can also change the page. That's where I control all of this at. So it's the page setup is what it is. I think that is, and that can be accessed through the file menu. We come on down. All right. So once again, a couple different ways we can tackle that one. All right. Page orientation and saving it as a PDF. All right, the way we can do that is the page orientation can be controlled. One way to control it would be actually through the file, page setup. All right, portrait to landscape. So portrait is, you're looking at this thing 8.5 by 11 vertical. Landscape is you turn it sideways. And that works, a lot of times we see that as an effective way of using it for spreadsheets, for printing out a spreadsheet, because, it's kind of a, spreadsheets have a kind of the length. All right, we can also adjust scaling. We can also adjust. So that's one. So you can get to that through file, page setup. All right. And in addition, saving a worksheet as a PDF. All right. Well, one way to do that is a couple different ways. So one way would be if you do if you have a icon. So if you look up here, this very top, at the top of the book, you have a little icon here, and you can program this. You can actually create all sorts of, you can activate these things at the top so you can get to it for one click. I've activated Save As. All right. So the way you would do this, using this, I click Save As, and it'll come up with what you want to save the name as, and where you want to put it at. And then it'll also have where or what you want to save it to look like. And this is a PDF. I'm going to save it as a PDF. Save it as a workbook. And if I click that, it will create a file, a new file. If I do a save as, so if I have an existing worksheet that's out there and I do a save as a PDF, it actually creates a new copy. It doesn't do anything to the original. It just simply uses that as the source and saves it. It moves it over, right? Another way you can do that is through file, save as here, same save as you can see the same thing. Can also do save as, can also be done as an upper, and Windows is a little different, so you have the upper command. So like a shift command S. So shift command S pops it up as well. All right. And I think if you look in the Windows, it'll have another type of command. So there's 3 different ways to be able to do a save as. You can either come up here and click click your quick access bar, put save as in your quick access bar, put it up top. We can do it as a save as here, or we can do it as a command line. So any one of those will do the exact same thing. So that's the first set of things. That was for stuff we talked about in chapter 1. So chapter 2, right, so we introduced the concept of formulas and some additional examples of autofill. All right, so let's take a look at that. All right, so formulas. Remember, as we talked about, formulas are one of the key parts of Excel. All right, so by default, if we have a cell, I can put a value in it. So there's my value. All right. And what will happen is if you look at the formula bar, so the formula bar and the cell itself are kind of tied together. So if whatever I enter here or here, those two are tied together. All right. Now, what I have the option to do is, so I can just put a number in there, value in it, or I can put a calculation. So this is where the formula comes in at. So we do addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. If I do an equals, so anything time we're going to put a formula in, it's an equal sign. So I can say equals a number. It puts a number. Or I can put a calculation. Put that result in there. Or I can combine, I can use addressing in the formula. So if I do something like this, if I say put 2 here, 2 here, and here I say I want to equal the contents of this cell added to the contents of this cell. 2, 2, 4. All right. And if you look at the cell, if we look at the formula, if we look here, it's a value, that's a value, that's a formula using addresses. All right. So that's pretty powerful stuff. That's pretty good. So let's do this. I'm going to copy this cell. We'll copy C. And I'm going to put it right. Actually, I need some more. I think I need some more room. So let me change my format a bit. Let's go back to this. I'm going to work over here. All right. So I'm going to do. So what I want to do is I want to create a formula. So do a 2. Okay, and then I'm going to do another 5. Whoop, 5. All right, and then I'm going to say equals this plus this. Oh, plus whoop, this. All right, so that we know that's an accurate number. What I can do is I can combine the formulas with the autofill. So what I can do is I can do something like this. I can take this whole line. So I'm taking this plus this and put it here. I can do my pull down here. And if I adjust this, no, that won't. That's not quite right. This is what I want to do. I want to do a fill series. And then I want to do another fill series. Nope. All right. Anyway, so what I've done is I've created, when I enter a formula, if I copy that formula, so I'll clear all this out. So we'll just do we'll clear all these cells, clear the contents. All right. So I'm going to recreate that formula. So I'll say equals this cell plus this cell. All right. And then what I can do is I can do my drag. If I do my little dot right here, pull this straight down, boom. It copied that formula all the way down. Okay. So you can copy the values of the cells, and you can also copy the formulas that are in the cells, and you can copy the formatting of the cells. So there's 3 things we can. There's three things we can work with when we're doing cut and paste or copy and paste. It's the value of the cell, the value that's in there, any formulas that are in there, so the values or the formula, or the formats. Okay. So we looked at that. We can do cell formatting using the format painter, and that was what we had shown before, where if I take a cell here on our home and I do a bunch of formatting to it. So we'll put a number in, we'll put a couple letters in here. And I'm going to do some fun with the formatting. So I'm going to make it a B, a bold it, bold it, italicize it, make it a little bigger. And I change the font, make it a Gothic. All right. So I've applied a whole bunch of format to this cell here. If I take this cell, if I highlight this cell and I click the paintbrush here, all right, which is the format copier, if I click that and come over here All right, what it did was it took the format of that cell. So it didn't copy the cell, it didn't copy the values. But if I come here, so if I go here and if I type in, let's see, all right. So you see I was just regular default format. If I come here, all right, it took the format, all the formatting I had applied and applied it to that cell. So that's what this or copy format icon does. All right. Let's see. Conditional formatting. If you recall, the conditional formatting lets us um, format cells in such a fashion so I can apply. So I'm going to create a quick example here. I'm going to do a pull down. I'm going to format a bunch of cells, apply conditional formatting, and what I'll do is there's a whole bunch of them. So this is top and bottom rows, highlight rows. I'm just going to do the highlight row. So it's going to be greater than a value. So it's greater than 10. All right, so what I did was I took all of these cells here and I programmed them to say if a value comes into these cells that's greater than 10, highlight it. All right, so if I put 5, 6, 10, 11. Remember 10, I said greater than 10, not greater than equal to 10. 12. All right, just some examples. I program, so what conditional formatting is, you pick a range of cells and you would apply to a range of cells, and then whatever goes into that cell, it will evaluate it and and then determine whether or not it should put a value. How it should format based upon the value. Um, Text orientation. So the orientation. Remember we talked about this as by default text shows up as horizontal. All right. But I can adjust the text. I can use, orientation. A couple different ways to adjust orientation. One is going to be through this. Or actually, if we go to the ribbon, this is the orientation. If I click that, say angle counterclockwise, it will adjust the orientation. Will not change the value, just change the way it's presented. I believe I can also get to the exact same thing through a let's see, scaling, margins. No, it's not that one. It's somewhere. There's another way to get to it at the for the ribbons at the top, but this will work. So the orientation, if you the simplest way would just simply be highlight your fields and click this to adjust the orientation, and it will adjust the size of the cells dynamically. Right. Like I said, there's another place we can adjust that format. Row column sheet. All right, I'm going to conditional format. As you can see, duplicates of stuff we've seen before. All right, so let's take a look now. So it was our alignment, orientation. Applying colors to cells and find the names of the different colors. That's very simple. So we can use, as I said, a couple different ways. The easiest way to do it would be to use the paint can right here. So this is the formatting, the fill color. All right. So what you do is I highlight, select a bunch of cells. If I click this, it'll automatically fill it. If I want to set the color, if I click this down arrow, it pulls up this little palette. There's all sorts of pretty colors in it. And I can select one of those colors. Whatever I click, it'll change it to that color. All right. If I want to see what the color looks like, I just hover over it. So somebody says, okay, I want to change the cells in this area. I want to make it a blue access one, later 40. You would come here, you do the pull down, and just find the one that says has that the right combinations of shading and color. All right. I said other ways. There's other ways to apply that, but that's actually. I think you could. I think we can adjust that off of the format just to see. If I do format cells, fill gives us the exact same thing. As you can see. And actually the alignment, we talked about the alignment, what we do here is also done here. So we can adjust the alignment here as well. Okay, and then hiding columns, right? So we can do there's a couple of ways we can do this, but one way to do it would be to select our column, right click it, or control click, and we have a hide and we have an unhide. If I click hide, and you'll note what it does is the cell is still there, all right, but what it will do is it'll collapse it. So what happens is column J goes away. Right? It's still there, so actually I can get it back. The way I can undo it is just simply pull it back. So we can you can also unhide, but so there's a couple different ways, like I said, a couple different ways to be able to do that and clear. I think there's a way we can also, if we set the hide columns across a spreadsheet, we can actually come back in and undo all of that. So it doesn't get lost, it's just hidden. All right. And then let's see. And then finally, filters. I didn't talk too much about filters, so I want to do a real quick demonstration of filters. I think that might be something we did talk about, or that we do, that is in one of the exercises. So the filters, once again, is a pretty powerful feature. What it lets us do is the way we get to the filter is under data. So you have to go to the data on the ribbon, or we go data here. I go to data here, and you'll see there's an option here for filter. All right. So what I can do is I can take a column, and take a couple columns. Actually, let's do some columns that have some data in them. All right. And then what you do is you click a filter. Oh, I have to go to the top. All right. So what happens is if I click the filter on the first row, is column 1 or row 1. You'll see if I click this on, it'll put this little doodad up here. Right? And this is the filter. All right. So if I see this on my row 1, what this means is that all of the data that this column is now filtered. All right, and I can apply a filter to it. So say, for example, I want to see if I want to find everything that's got all of the cells that have 3, 4, and 5 in it. All right. It'll knock everything else out and just show that. And if a filter's applied, you'll actually see a little dot there. Right? And in here, there's only 5, so it's going to be the same. But here, I think I can adjust one. If I say 9, so I'll take everything out, select 9. And there's only 1. So we can use this. We'll be using more of this as we go through. This is a pretty powerful feature. We can apply a filter. All right. And use it to identify what are all the values that are in a particular column, and we can combine multiples, so we can knock things out and reduce. This was a big innovation around being able to use data, being able work with stuff that we ordinarily would have to use a database to do things that would streamline it. This does a very good. Does a great job. So so we'll be using more of this, but for right now, our introduction is going to be the filter. All right, and what I can do is if I want to clear all the filters, um, I'll do that one. I can either clear the filter there, or I can clear the filter up here. So if I have a filter, what will happen is if a filter is activated, what it will do is it will show this as gray. If I deactivate it, it's not gray. But if I activate it, that'll become gray. All right, so that is a quick demonstration of the things that we talked about in chapters 1 and 2 that you want to get you can practice a bit. My suggestion would be just kind of play around with it. Maybe take a look at this stuff and maybe play along with the kind of what I put together here. Okay. Any questions? Give me a holler, and talk to you real soon. Take care now.